place to be is living free in Tennessee.
In Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you choose on your terms. Today is Monday, January 13th, 2025, and this is episode, drumroll, 991 of Living Free in Tennessee. We're getting really close to the 1,000 episode mark, and as you can see, I'm here today in my puffy jacket because who forgot to open the door to her office and studio today when getting the house warmed up with the fire? This girl did until about 15 minutes ago. I've actually got an infrared heater going in here to warm it up a little bit, but it's freezing in here because it's freezing out there. And if you're on any of the Living Free in Tennessee social networks, of course, you already know it's cold because everybody's talking about snow and cold. And a lot of us have an unfortunate situation where lambs are being born in the snowy pastures. Yep, that's happening. I thought I was the only one, but it's going on. It's going around the network right now. So there's lots of little cute lambs. But, you know, that's life on the homestead sometimes, right? Anyway, today I'm going to share my thoughts about slowing down so you can speed up. And I know John Willis from Special Operations Equipment has that t-shirt that says, go fast, go alone, go far, go together, right? This is kind of something similar to that, where if you want to go fast, sometimes you have to slow down first. I know it's true at the range because getting all of the things in your hands and whatever to work right, it's better to do it slowly and accurately so that you can go fast later than get your gun up really fast, for example. So we're going to talk about that, but it's not related to firearms at all. I'm talking about in your business, in your day-to-day life, in your productivity plans. Also going to be giving you an update from the Prepper Pantry. We have a frugality tip from Margot today, as well as our other usual segment, which is Operation Independence. I just glitched out. That was weird. I'm a Matrix robot sometimes, and I just the brain stopped. Probably means I need to drink more water, right? And less coffee. I've been real careful about that. Anyway, before I hop into that, I want to talk about our featured event of today's show, and that is the solar webinar that's being done. So this is the member webinar for the month. And it's called Build Your Solar Blueprint. It's being presented by Sean Mills from Hack My Homestead. He was going to do it in December, but a whole bunch of stuff changed in his life all at one time. And so we delayed until January, which means if you are a member who was entitled to 3 webinars last year and you didn't get your 3rd webinar and you want this to be your 3rd webinar, you can totally do that. After the show, I'm going to update it in the show, in the member portal, and we'll be sending an email to members only this week about what your coupon codes are for 2025 for being a member. But the Build Your Solar Blueprint is January 19th at 3 p.m. And you can buy it for $35, or if you are a member, it's included as part of your webinar package. And it is over at livingfreeintennessee.com/build your solar blueprint January 19, or you can just hit the link in the show notes. It'll take you straight there. And if you are on the YouTube live right now, I actually put all of the resources or links that I'm referring to in today's show in the description so that you didn't have to wait around if you wanted to check stuff out. We are in the process of rolling out LearnDash as our new educational portal on Living Free in Tennessee, and this is the first thing going through there. So what'll happen is you'll put the product in your cart, it'll sign you up, it'll add it to your LearnDash dashboard, and then for some reasons it's not sending the automated email saying this is your link to get the thing. So I'll be sending those manually this week once a day, and I will be working to get that automated because the whole point of doing this is to automate the things so that we follow through 100% of the time, and you're not waiting for me to send an email when I'm out running at the pasture helping with birthing, which has happened today already. It's actually kind of funny because we had the My 3 Things webinar, and I talk about my day plan, and I posted My 3 Things, and then I posted My 3 Things update, item 1, birthing sheep. And then I kicked something out of My 3 Things because when we went and did the morning check, we had 2 ewes had given birth, and we had 1 set of twins. One had a single, so it's 2 girls and a boy. It's a boy-girl twin and a girl single. And there was blood on the sheep's neck, and I thought the dog had like attacked her, and then we went over there and the dog had not attacked her, so it was probably from the birthing process. But it looked like it was stressful because several sheep were on the wrong side of the fence as a result, and we got everything like tightened down. And I've been keeping my eye on one ewe in particular because she's still sort of keeping herself separate. But that's part of raising sheep, right? So like keep an eye on it. At this point, all of the babies have latched on and drank, so that's good. I did come over earlier right before the show to check on them, and one of the twins was with the wrong mom, so I put her back with the right mom, which is something the dogs will do. But the other mom didn't care, so colostrum is colostrum in my book. But the other mom was happy to see her other child back, and we have 3 more ewes who look eminent and 4 more who are pregnant. So there's going to be a lot of asterisks on my schedule about, ewe births. And I am going to hit mute, guys, real quick and cough. I actually put some cinnamon on the top of my coffee today. And when I was drinking my coffee, I breathed in to get the smell of the beautiful cup of coffee with the cinnamon, and the dust went up and into my lungs. So I've been a little hashy today. Our first sponsor of today's show, speaking of sponsors, who is it? It's Agorist Tax Advice. Okay, this is really cool for me. I am typically a person who likes to procrastinate on giving myself my taxes to be done. Like, I will put off paperwork as long as humanly possible. And this year I decided, as part of my sort of word enrich, what I have to do is get rid of roadblocks. And one roadblock that will just mentally mess me up until I finally sit down for the hours it takes to do it and put my tax information together is taxes. Because I'm always thinking about, I have to file the thing. So what I decided this year is every Saturday, the primary directive is work on taxes. And over the weekend, I got some past tax reporting just completely done. Super stoked about it. Well, part of that was possible because I worked with Agorist Tax Advice, agorist-taxadvice.com, who's a sponsor of the show, to audit my financial structures so that I could really think about how I'm set up, as well as make decisions moving forward for how structures may want to change as things grow, that sort of thing. Also to understand better tax write-offs I'm not taking advantage of. He found a few for me. So agorist-taxadvice.com/LFTM will take you to this splash page I'm showing you here, and you can sign up for his email. It's free. He sends you a free downloadable business tax write-off guide, and that's super fun. I actually really like his. They're not always weekly, but semi-regular emails he sends out. He'll usually highlight something important. I'm pretty sure we should be getting a reminder to fill out that weird registration thing that's due either today or Wednesday, where it's an extra registration where you register your business and say who owns it, which you already do when you register your business. It's supposed to be anti-money laundering, and it's tied up in the courts. But anyway, at some point, it's $500 a day fine not to do it. So there's that. So he tells you things like that. He also helps people with tax preparation, and it's tax preparation season. Check out Agorist Tax Advice at agorist-taxadvice.com. And if you're coming from LFTN, he really likes to know. So go to agorist-taxadvice.com/LFTN and sign up for the email. As I said, I found it really valuable. But I always like to learn new things, right? And one of my, I was thinking about how in my 3 things we choose the 3 do or die items. And there's this thing we do called eat a frog, where if there's something you really hate to do, you just do it first so that it's done and the rest of your day is awesome, right? Well, my eat a frog for the first Saturdays of the year until all the frogs are eaten are related to making sure all of those structures are in place. And it's been going great so far. I'm only 2 weeks in. I got 50 more weeks to do, right? But here we are. Our second sponsor of today's show is EMP Shield. Now, I've worked with EMP Shield for about 2 years now. I got to know them through maybe it's 3. I got to know them through the Self-Reliance Festival, actually. And they have a pretty cool product, which is a whole house protection. And you can see on their website there, it's designed to protect against EMPs, lightning, power surges, and CMEs. Well, the thing that happens mostly here, guys, is lightning and power surges, especially in an ice storm. In fact, this ice storm got both. We got both lightning and power surges from lines being shattered by branches. And the reason is that we had like this line of warm come through before the line of cold. Anyway, it's a really cool device. And it's the only device on the market I know of that has a $25,000 insurance program. If it fails and your appliances get hashed, then up to $25,000, they cover the replacement. Find out more at empshield.com. If you want to get $50 off, the coupon code is Living Free in Tennessee. With that, it's time for our first segment of today's show. No, I'm not going over the live stream chat schedule. I'm assuming that if you want to know the live stream schedule in advance, you've signed up for the email at livingfreeintennessee.com, because I send a weekly mail on Monday that has all of that in there. And I realized that it's kind of boring listening to me talking about my live stream schedule. However, the first segment is Tales from the Prepper Pantry, and that's where I talk about using what you eat and eating what you use. And you want to store that stuff well, right? But you don't want to store a bunch of stuff you don't use. In fact, I am facing a situation where I used to eat wheat and rice, and I don't really eat wheat and rice anymore. And so I want like a little bit of that put up for my mom and for other people who may need it in a situation. But really, when you're storing stuff that you're not going to use, it just takes up space. And what happens is that you can't put the things you really need in the space that's being taken up by the things you don't need. I know that there's a wider community need for calories sometimes. And, I already have it in buckets, like solidly packaged and all of that. And as I said, when my mom's here, she eats rice. So that's helpful. And sometimes she eats wheat. And so we just grind the wheat berries in my Vitamix and use that for flour if we need to. But I'll tell you what, the last 2 times she's been here and needed flour, she was baking a cake. And the Vitamix, while it does grind really nice flour, it's not that kind of like cake grade grind. So we ended up buying it at the store anyway for the project she had in mind. But that brings up actually Friday, we're going to do an episode of Homegrown Cooking, Dawn Gorham and I. And we started out last year with this idea that we do like nose to tail. Oh, it's finally getting warm. Nose to tail instructions on how to cook all this meat. Because she's like, I have a whole cow in my freezer and I don't know how to cook it all. And we started with something kind of hard. We started easy, steaks. And then we did tongues. And the first day we did a bunch of steaks and we did it at my house and we shot all this video, which still needs to be edited and posted, right? So at some point I'm going to like blip that all into a Dropbox and get somebody else to help me with that. But our second time we did a tongue and we kind of agreed on the same recipe. And then I started out and I'm like, this is how you get it started. And then the tongue cooks for 3 hours. And then and then she's like, by the way, I've been cooking it and here's it. It's coming out and I'm tasting it, right? Like this is how you finalize it. So I thought that worked a little bit better and we got the episode out more importantly. And sometimes you can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. It's great to cook in person with Dawn. I'm sure it will happen. But what we can manage is once a month doing a homegrown cooking episode and doing that together over the internet. And of course, caveat being if there's snow on Friday and the internet's out, we'll reschedule. Of course, the snow that we were projected to have on Friday has turned into rain. Thank you. So that's actually made me very, very happy. So that'll be on Friday. I don't know what time yet, but it's going to be super fun. And it's related to the pantry because its intention is to help us learn how to cook everything. So if I encourage you to buy the whole animal and then you get the whole animal and don't know what to do with the oxtail, well, what good is that? Let's learn how to cook oxtails together. What I plan to cook on Friday is a beef heart. And I have done one sort of episode by myself on the beef heart where I didn't really know what I was doing. So I just went for it. And I really liked the result. So I took out another beef heart. My goal is to get through all of the organs from all the cows that have come in here as quickly as possible, taking my guidance from other people who are like, if you don't eat the organs right away, you never eat the organs. They just sit in your fridge and look at you, right? So I've got a tongue this week and a heart this week in pile of meat. So my approach to eating, we are transitioning into a carnivore style eating for now. And I am actually doing the paid program for $99, the Carnivore Challenge that Andy McCann talked about last Monday. And I thought it started this weekend because it was originally scheduled for this week. It starts next weekend, but I'm like, well, I guess I've already started. So here we go. And that means my approach to meal planning involves walking out to the freezer with a big gray bin and pulling all this meat into the bin and putting it in my fridge to defrost. And then as things defrost, I decide what's for dinner. I also, from a meal planning standpoint, have been writing it on my chalkboard when it's a tough day. Like Mondays are always a tough day because it's like a race first day of the week plus choir tonight. So I have sort of an early end time in essence. And even though I got up early today, it's still like once the show is done, I'm going to get the production out so the audio podcast listeners can listen. And then I got to go to town, and it's pantry challenge month. So I'm not supposed to go out to eat or grab anything on the way. So got to cook dinner first, right? So I always try to choose something easy for Monday, and like days where I have the webinars in the evening, it's usually a pre-cooked thing like a shepherd's pie that I've made the day before or something. I cooked like 3 meals pre-cooked last week on Sunday as I was making another thing because I was like, well, I'm making breakfast sausage, so I might as well make all the breakfast sausage. And then while I'm at that, I'm going to get ready for the shepherd's pie that we're having this week. When I do shepherd's pie, I do a keto version. So this week, again, I hit the lamb pretty hard. So we're having rack of lamb tonight. And that I'm cooking in the sous vide and just stirring off at the end. And then I have some leftover salmon from last night, which was pre-cooked in my freezer. And I just mixed it with a bunch of garlic and butter and served it like that. That's also very good in eggs, by the way. But basically, I'm hitting all the parts of my freezer that I've either been procrastinating on eating the stuff there, or if there's a new animal, the parts of the animals that we don't usually eat eagerly are getting worked in. And then we get a reward every week. So we had leg of lamb at the end of last week. And then I turned that into a delicious stew for the parts we didn't eat. I have a second leg in there that I may bring out for next week. Oh, no, week after next, because I'm on the road next week. But that's what's been going on there. So that transition to the carnivore challenge is interesting because I have all the canned goods, right? I'm still finishing canning my tomatoes. I have one more batch of tomatoes to can into sauce, and then I'm going to ignore it for 8 weeks because tomato sauce is not carnivore, in case you didn't know that, right? So that's been pretty good. And the pile of meat approach to cooking, as long as I do it Sunday and I've thought about what I think these things are going to be, that actually helps me a lot. Like Friday is heart day. I'll probably also cook the tongue, so it'll be tongue and heart day. I've got ground lamb. I've got all sorts of good stuff that I pulled out of the freezer, and a chicken. There's a chicken this week. Usually on chicken night, I have a second meat. So usually it'll be like chicken and ground lamb, spiced however. I may do another shepherd's pie style thing. I just won't have it over color rice and just have the ground with some gravy that I'll do keto style and done. By the way, I make gravy keto style. There's 2 ways to do it. The carnivore way is with egg yolks, and the keto way is with freeze-dried mushroom powder to stiffen it up. Like those are the 2 ways I've been doing it. So the January pantry challenge is on, and I meant to talk about this in December. What it is we agree to live from just our pantries for the month, and that includes not going out to dinner. So I'm doing that. I'm not really talking about it much. I think the fun part of this challenge is that you really discover where you maybe haven't stocked up right? Well, my one difference, I'm going out of town for a week and I'm not going to bring my meals with me for that week. It's just too hard. And I said that in advance. But the second thing is that things that we're already regularly resupplying, like that I have subscriptions to, I'm not turning those off for the month. And I do know my big weakness is fresh dairy. I do get a half, like you can get stuff barter or from the farms, right? I get my milk from the farm once a week anyway. I'm not going to turn that off for the month. But so far, what I've noticed is I didn't have any spray and wash because I got bacon grease on this shirt when I was cooking. And I ended up borrowing some from a neighbor. I started going down the rabbit trail of how to do like an alternative. And I just thought, I don't want to ruin a brand new shirt, first of all. And secondly, I can borrow from a neighbor. There's no reason I can't do that. Like it's all in the holler, right? For some reason, my stain stick is missing, but I don't have a backup stain stick because I hardly ever need them. So there's that. And the fun part of the pantry challenge is discovering when you're completely out of something, what can you use instead? So as I go through the month, I'll just talk about some things that I've realized I need an alternative way to do this because we're low on whatever, right? And we'll just brainstorm ideas. I thought it'd be fun. If you're doing the January Pantry Challenge, feel free to talk about that on our social networks. Our most active social network is on Telegram. That's t.me/LFTN group. But we also have a Facebook group. If you guys end up wanting to be on Facebook and be active, go over there and be active. And then I'll start interacting with you. Beth Emily says, aprons, Nicole. Absolutely. Aprons are 100% what I should have been wearing. I have one apron right now and it's like perma-stained. And so I always feel like grubby when I put it on. And that's why I didn't have it on. Like its whole purpose is to be grubby so I don't get grubby. And it was a dumb thing. And the minute I did it, I'm like, the apron is right there. You could have put it on, but no. Anyway, next up, we have the weekly shopping report usually, but I believe Joe is snowed in or recently unsnowed in, so we don't have one for this week. Hopefully he'll be back next week. Now that he's retired, he doesn't necessarily go shopping on a weekly basis either. It's amazing how when you have more time to like organize the house, how you don't need to go to the store as much. Next up, we have a frugality tip from Margot. Margot says, some people have memberships that give you rewards. I tend to save them until we need them. I save points and redeem for gift cards for birthday and Christmas gifts. We have a car rental membership that's a work perk, so we do not have to pay for it. After so many days, you get free rentals, so many days of rentals of car, right? We had a situation come up over Christmas break that required a pickup truck, and we used some of our free days so that we did not have to pay crazy holiday prices for the rental truck. So by saving the free days, we saved even more money on that much needed truck rental. So sometimes those pay for memberships that are very worth their annual fees. And the frugality lady has a few. That's right. So a lot of times people say that you shouldn't have any memberships because that'll bust your budget or whatever. Well, sometimes they actually work in your favor. Like my frequent flyer miles for Southwest Airlines are great. Like most of when I need to buy something from a commercial store for the house, like home goods or whatever, I just use my frequent flyer miles to get gift cards and I go there and I buy the things that I need. It's actually super handy. And you can get, I think Lowe's is still on there. They ebb and flow in quality, but also this summer when I was flying a lot to California, a couple of times, especially those last minute airplanes, like I would be like, how much is the airfare? $200? Not too bad. I'll just pay the $200. How much is the airfare? $900 points, right? And that would just get me there. And yeah, you can like call them up and they give you a discount if it's an urgent matter or whatever. But the problem is in situations like that is like, I need to leave today or tomorrow. And it's not always cheap, right? So I find that having if you can get points, get the points. I should do a points points program at Olive Roast. I wonder how I get that done. Anybody who knows, email me, Nicole@livingfreeintennessee.com. Next up, we have Operation Independence, where we talk about building local ongoing revenue into your life and reducing your need to pay a guy and getting out of debt. The first step to stability is getting out of debt. And I wanted to share a story where at the end of this year, financially speaking, Hollow Roast did great. However, some other projects I worked on did not do as great. And so I was kind of looking at my bank account balance going, you know what? I think it's better not to pay myself for a few months. And the reason I was able to do that was that I had no mortgage payment because I paid my house off. And so like my monthly bills have dropped, like just that one payment. It's weird because it was like $750 a month, right? It's not a big mortgage by any means, but just having that one payment out, it was like it opened up everything else to like easily being able to skip a couple of paychecks, which was nice because I wanted to make sure that the finances all worked out for the business, right? So that's the power you get when you get out of debt. And I know it's always the struggle of like, I need a mortgage to buy the house to have the place to live, and I might as well be putting rent towards mortgage, like your mortgage is your rent, right? And versus staying in an apartment and saving up and buying with cash. And I don't have good advice on which way is better to go because I think every situation is different. I am very thankful that I was able to buy this place years ago, 18 years ago now, and that I didn't fall into the bad habit of every time interest rates drop, taking equity out of the house. Now, my house is worth more than it was when I bought it, but it didn't go up like 10x. Like my Portland house is worth about 10 times now what it was when I bought it. I didn't get to sell it for 10 times that, but like some real estate purchases go up much higher than others, none of which matters when you live in it. And that's the thing. People are always like, wow, my house is worth so much. And I'm like, and your property taxes just went up. So anyway, that's why we talk about like doing your best to avoid debt. And if you're going to take on debt, understand what you're doing, like do it for a reason, have a plan in place to deal with that. And if you find yourself in debt right now and just servicing a lot of interest, go back and listen to some of my episodes while I was dealing with that situation, because I used to be in that situation. And it took this Operation Independence, which is one of my three things, areas of focus is financial. That's why this whole segment exists. We have a My Three Things 4-week challenge coming up this week. It starts on Thursday. So if you took the free webinar, you can get the package deal for the My Three Things 4-week webinar for $49. The package deal would usually be $149. And it's available at NicoleSauce.com/my3things. And you get, if you've gone through the session, you've got the workbook. You should be able to make your My Three Things plan on your own. What this does is adds accountability. So we meet once a week for 4 weeks. And each week we take on one piece of the plan, so that at the end of it, you have the plan, but you also have the feedback of all of us on the My Three Things 4-week challenge call. Once you have your life blueprint, we'll give you a customized printable for that, as well as a customized printable for the My Three Things daily planning sheet that you get to use, plus lifetime access to the videos, and of course access to the Telegram group and a certificate of completion. That's over at NicoleSauce.com/my3things, the number 3things.com. Of course, the link is also in the the comments of the video here. Just wanted to say that, because for me, that is Operations Independence. That's literally what I did to change the course of my life. When I found myself unhappy, in debt, and doing a bunch of stuff I didn't like to do, and I really felt like, and you'll hear me talk about this, like other people living my life for me instead of me living the life I want to live. That's why the tagline for this podcast is, build the life you choose on your terms, right? That's what we're doing here. We're building the life we want to live, not the life somebody else wants us to live, because it's better to live your life, not the one somebody else wants you to live. That's no fun at all. Can you imagine being born into the royal family? Like literally, that is the epitome of, you don't get to live the life you live the life that you are told to live as a royal family member. I mean, I don't feel sorry for them, but it's like, it just seems like a terrible situation. Sure, you're born into a lot of money, but all the rules, all the expectations, all of the appearances, got to marry the right kind of person. Like, doesn't matter who you love, matters that they're the right kind of person. Ugh. Anyway, also under Operation Independence, we have had 5 lambs born so far since Christmas, and that's awesome. And we actually had 6 born, 1 died, but 5 are alive. And I think Tactical is probably over there checking on them. We've been checking about every hour or two today just to see how mom and babies are doing, because they were born this morning. I'm really stoked they were not born in the middle of the snowstorm. I'm pretty sure I have 1 on trajectory for the coldest day in a week and a half. But I've got 3 more who should be giving birth today or tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. And all of those are All of those are meat animals. So in September, October, we'll be processing lambs again. If anybody's interested in some grass-fed holler lamb meat, they should be nice and chunky by then, as long as we've kept the forage going. I'm expecting a dry summer. I need to talk to Tactical about what we're going to do about that, because it'd be nice if we could really keep some more of the moisture in the pasture to grow more grass. Porterhouse, welcome. Anyway, with that, it's time for the main topic of today's show. And this is our classic Monday show where we have our usual segments, and then I have one thing to think about, right? And usually it's a homesteading thing or a productivity thing. And today I kept, like, all weekend, I'm like, what do I do the show about? What do I do the show about? What do I do the show about, right? It is all about, the thing that kept coming up was you need to slow down. You need to slow down. You need to slow down. And finally I was like, you know what? To speed up, first you have to slow down. And that phrase just kept going through my brain all weekend long, because I had a really great productive weekend. I was very focused. I was like all up on my 3 things worksheets and getting stuff done around here, and, you know, getting my walks in and getting my reading done. And I would like get to this point of something, like yesterday while I was roasting coffee. Like, I like to roast my coffee on Sunday that ships Monday, so that I'm not like also adding coffee roasting to today's to-do items, right? And it makes Monday better, which helps with the we end early part of Monday. And I got all the coffee roasted. It's all in bags. It's not in boxes. And what I usually do is get it to that point, go do the rest of my Sunday, because it's Selfish Sunday. I'm supposed to be reading my permaculture book or whatever I want to do, right? And I consider it Selfish Sunday to get up on that work deliverable that's required on Monday. Well, and then I'll get up and box them in the morning and then put them down in the pump house. Well, I was in there and I'm like, literally, it's going to take you 15 more minutes, and you're just eager to get on to the next thing, right, on your list. And so you're like, okay, I've done this enough. I'm done. It's close enough. It's half-assed because it's not done all the way. And I was like, you know what, Nicole, you should just stay in here, because sometimes you might not get everything done on your list today if you do this last 15 minutes worth of work. But the boxes will be where they need to be for the mailman to pick them up. The ones going to UPS will be loaded in the car so you can drop them at UPS when you go to town, and you'll be all the way done. And it won't be another thing on tomorrow's list, which will make tomorrow better, but it requires being slower today. So last year, the word of the year for me was hone. And I really chose that because I felt like I was running in too many directions at one time. And because of that, things were not getting the attention they should all of the time, right? So life really tested my word of the year last year. Lots of tests came in my direction, some of them difficult challenges to overcome, but some of them were new opportunities, which is really tempting. Like, you're trying to hone in, do more with less, like do fewer things better, that sort of thing. And then it's like opportunity, 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 opportunity. And for somebody who is entrepreneurial, it's very hard not to take, advantage of the opportunity when they come. But if you take advantage of all opportunities, one after the other, after the other, after the other, you know what happens? You end up overcommitted, and you disappoint people, and you disappoint yourself, and you feel like totally frazzled. And then you kind of do a crappy job at as much as you can of everything. So saying yes to everything is a really bad habit to have. It's a worse habit to have if you're an entrepreneur, because you want to say yes. The new things sound really exciting. But the worst habit you can have as an entrepreneur is to say yes to everything. In fact, if I'm pushed for a decision right now, my default answer has become no. It's no right now. If you give me a chance to think about it, it might turn into a yes. But unless it's a hell yes, it can't be a yes anymore, because my life is too short not to just be hell yesing all the time. Am I right? Am I right? Anyway, that was the lesson from last year. And by April, having yesed myself too much, that's right, we're turning yes into a verb. Yes, I've yesed myself. I had started saying no to almost everything by only April. especially things that involve travel off of the homestead. And I realized that things on my homestead do not flourish when I'm not here. Even though Tactical does a great job, this is a homestead designed for 2 people to run it at this point. And things keep going when one person is here. And I have done it by myself, and he has done it by himself. But it's way better when 2 people are here to keep the ship running, right? And it just means that when I'm not here, I'm not present. And when I come back from not being here, I'm still not present because I need to transition into it, right? And not being present is a big problem on a homestead. But really, not being present is a big, big, big problem beyond that. When you think about your closest relationships, like the one person that you can trust to love you all the time in your life is the one that it's easiest not to pay attention to, because you can trust they'll be there. But if you're not present for them over time, that goes away. It damages the relationship. Or if you're not present in the moment when the sheep are being born, like this is the cutest part of the whole process, right? Like it's enjoyable. Why wouldn't I want to be present there? Instead, I'm like running off doing all the things, and I don't get to see the little baby lambs. This time I've been able to handle the lambs a lot more, which my goal is that they will be more handleable just by having presence there, right? And I've found that being present on the homestead and being present for relationships is really important. Well, how about being present for yourself? How about being present for yourself? If you're not present for yourself, then you don't have a well from which to deliver all of your other ambitions and opportunities and that sort of thing. So really, I had started saying no last year to everything because I realized I had to put the brakes on to be able to do what I'd already committed to and not get distracted. And then also, I needed to reassess in order to hone down so that I knew where the priorities were going to be. Well, at this point, and I almost actually kept the word hone for another year, guys, because I was like, I still have a lot of decisions to make. But I turned a corner in November, and I decided very late in the year that my new word would be enrich, meaning beyond the pocketbook, not just make rich, but enrich. I'm asking myself every day, how am I enriching the world around me? Is it by not like jumping to the jugular and being a dick to somebody? Is it by setting up situations that can help people, like the My 3 Things challenge? I wasn't originally planning to do that 4-week challenge, and I was like, okay, we've done the webinar. Statistically, we had 20 people on last week. 2 of them are going to get it done. Well, if 5 of them sign up for the My 3 Things 4-week challenge, then maybe 5 of them will get it done, or maybe 7 of them will get it done because the 2 who are going to get it done don't get it done, or maybe 4 of the 5. Like that enriches their lives, which enriches the world around me, right? So I think it's important then to step back. And as I've jumped into the enrich word or perspective, and this is really like my mind looking at everything I'm doing and saying, like, how is that enriching the world around me? Like today's email didn't go out until 15 minutes before this show. You know why? Because I went to send today's email and I was like, how do you sign up for the solar webinar? Nobody knows how. Oh, I have a new system called LearnDash where people sign up for things like that. How does it work? Because I've never quite gotten it working. 2 people, some of whom, and one of whom is on the show right now listening to it, help me like test it so I understood how it works. So it wasn't just like I launch it untested and hope it works, right? Because it doesn't enrich the user and spirit experience to get in there and nothing works right. And it was just one thing after another like that on that email. And it was like, I have to build 5 things before I can even send this email. And I got lambs being born, right? So I slowed my roll. Usually that email goes out in the morning and I was like, it's okay. It's going to go out later, but it will at least, have all of the things in it and the links to the things will work so that I don't have like, hey, stay tuned next week for the link I haven't built, right? Which is kind of what you got last week, actually. I think that was for the solar webinar. I was waiting for some feedback on that and I got it. So now we got it. So I slowed my roll. Usually that email goes out in the morning and I was like, it's okay. It's going to go out later, but it will at least, have all of the things in it and the links to the things will work so that we don't have, I don't have like, hey, stay tuned next week for the link I haven't built, right? Which is kind of what you got last week, actually. I think that was for the solar webinar. I was waiting for some feedback on that and I got it. So now we got it. as I go into enrich and I started thinking about that, I was like, oh man, it's really about putting the brakes on all the time. I'm like constant, and I race, like you guys know, I race forward on things. It's like I gotta put the brakes on every day to be like, okay, how can this be better before I let it out of the chute? Right? That will not fix the text message typos you all get from me, by the way, because half the time I've typed the right word and it just changes it. Like Telegram's really bad at this. It's really, and Facebook is worse. If I'm doing a thing in there, it'll just like, bloop, you didn't mean that word. And I'm like, I absolutely did too mean that word. And it's like, nope, you meant this other word. No, I still mean that word. And then you have to like a little check thing. It's really annoying. Really, really, really annoying. So what slowing down has really helped me see is that I knew I had roadblocks in my life, but there are a lot more roadblocks than I realized, right? So over Christmas, when I took those 2 weeks off, I kept walking outside to do something and then something else was in my way. And so I started posting things for free on Facebook. I was just like one whole week, I just posted things for free on Facebook. I had like all of these beehives, which were great, except for I don't have bees. And could I sell them? Sure. Could I give them away and get them gone that same day? Absolutely. Totally did that. The lady gave me a nice jar of honey. I'm stoked about that. Like I didn't ask for it, but I appreciated that she gave me the honey for the beehives because she's all into bees and I'm allergic. So I'm not raising bees anymore, right? And I finally decided to deal with my car accident from April, which apparently was harder on me than I realized. It was more mentally hard on me than physically hard on me. But I listed my car for parts and now a bunch of parts have left. And you know what? I said I'll give myself 2 weeks and see what parts sell, see what money I can recoup from that totaled vehicle. And then it's going to the scrapyard. Guess where we're at? It's been 2 weeks and there's snow on the ground. So it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks, as I knew when I said it. But it's another roadblock out of my way, not in my way. And Operation Eyesore, which is just looking around at how the homestead is organized, and like every homestead ends up with this thing. Not every, like some people are really good. Most people aren't though. Most homesteads have like these piles of hopes and dreams or not quite sure where you put the things away. So you have it all under this tarp somewhere. Well, I have a number of islands of stuff here. And as I wander around and see them, it's just like, okay, that I'm going to make it disappear. Now I'm frustrated redneck with that one for sure. Because one of the places I don't like stuff accumulating is right in front of my house, and he likes to put stuff there. So that's going back and forth and back and forth. But a really big one I hadn't really thought about is my paperwork monster. And the paperwork monster, you guys remember from the show early on, like Laundry Mountain, where I had to redefine what laundry being finished meant in order to be successful with laundry. And, you know, laundry goes from the washer to the dryer or hang dry, gets folded and put in drawers. Well, what was happening, because I'm multitasking and getting a lot of things done, is I would start the laundry, I'd get it in the dryer, I'd pull it out of the dryer, I'd dump it on the couch to be folded later when I'm sitting down. And then later when I was sitting down, would I fold it? No. I mean, it would sit there for 3 days before I would actually get around to folding the stupid stuff. And I felt like I was being more efficient that way, but it was less efficient because when you create Laundry Mountain, what you create is something that can be pushed onto the ground and then your dog can turn it into a dog bed. And then guess what? You got to wash it again. Paper Monster's the same. So the paperwork monster, because, we talked about eating a frog earlier. The paperwork monster is one that's been in my life for my life. My whole life has been like a struggle about the paperwork. And the only time it hasn't been a struggle is when I've outsourced it. And I haven't been able to outsource it. Like it hasn't been in my structure to outsource it for years now. And I have a paperwork monster. And I end up, as most ADHD people do, with doom boxes of paper monster in them. And then when I need information, I'm super frustrated because I can't find it because it's in the doom box of a paperwork monster. Well, that roadblock is going to be gone by the end of this year. Because what I realized was, like laundry, I had to redefine how things are by slowing down what finished means with paper. And you don't start if you can't finish right now. For me, the paperwork monster cannot happen because otherwise it ends up halfway through the process and then we have a problem, right? So really, what I'm realizing, like I started writing these show notes at 12 p.m. today. I usually write my show notes Sunday or the first thing in the morning Monday. And the mail had not gone out when I started that. And the solar webinar was not launched. And that was all okay. Previously, that would have freaked me out. I would have like half-assed it just to get it done quickly. But that doesn't enrich the world. What enriches the world is getting it all done one step at a time. So to speed up, first you have to slow down. For me to conquer the paperwork monster, I have to slow down processing the paper on the way in the door, getting it to a state where it's like the next step is X, and then leaving it there forever until it turns into a problem and gets shoved in a box out of sight so I don't have to see it. Now, paperwork comes into the door, right, and sits in its place. And then when I'm ready to go through one paper at a time all the way to the file cabinet, if it needs to be filed, or the garbage can if it gets to be filed there, the more paper I can throw away, the happier I am. I have to slow it down. I can't just start it in an effort to half-ass it to keep things going, right? And when you start thinking about that, to speed up, you have to slow down. You have to slow down to remove barriers. When you're running along and you hit a barrier and you don't know how to get around it, you got to slow down to think about it. You have to slow down to assess priorities, because if you're focusing on your priorities, then a lot of the non-priority stuff that you've been working on, that you're getting done fast, that doesn't actually matter, gives you that time back to get the priorities done. Like your true priorities of projects, your true priorities for living, your true priorities for your health, your true priorities for your relationship. You have to slow down if you want to test your assumptions, because you assume the things are going to work the way they should. But if you don't test them, then you don't know. And then you've just half-assed something again. You have to slow down to develop systems that work. I'm a 52-year-old woman who has a paperwork monster because I've never had a working paperwork system. And I bet, had I ever thought to myself, I need a working paperwork system. Internet, does anybody have a template I can steal? There's probably 40 million templates out there. And I've taken runs at this and runs at this and runs at this. Finally, I was like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to work out a system that works for me. And I did it. And I went and got all the stuff and I got it all set up and I set stop the bleeding date. And since that date, everything has been through the system. And now when I work on Paperwork Monster, which is my Sunday project every week until it's done, I'm putting it through that system back, like the stuff from before. But everything moving forward is already in the system. It just took slowing down to think about it, right? You got to slow down and prioritize yourself. And that's the hard one. That's what 75 Hard teaches you, is no matter what, I am going to freaking read these 10 pages and do these 2 workouts, right? Well, great. I'm now doing 1 workout a day, not 2. And I fail 1 or 2 days a week. And then some days I do 2 workouts, right? But my goal is 1 workout a day. And in order to get that down, I have to slow down long enough to give myself the time to do the workout. Like this morning, I woke up extra early. I did my things. Hello, kitty. There's a cat in my office. Where'd you go? I heard you go meow. Okay. I think he just was doing a drive-by meow, I guess. Well, anyway, so this morning I got up and I've been reading the permaculture handbook, like not 1 chapter at a time, but 1 section at a time, because I feel like to absorb it, I need to read that book slowly. I do that a few days a week. I do some other books other days a week. And I had a coffee and I was like, I need to start work by 7. So, like shower and all that stuff by 7. And I was like, you know what? I managed to get my workout in yesterday, but Mondays are hard. What if I just do Pilates right now and then take my shower and then start my day? And if I start my day 15 minutes late, whatever. So I did. And you know what? As a result of that, I got my workout in today because I slowed down, prioritized myself, and then the sheep gave birth, and that would have like completely busted my workout. Now, the one thing I haven't fixed yet is that the swim spa, which was closed down for ice, gets to open up again. I need to go make sure that's open before I leave today so that tomorrow it's back up to temperature for swimming so I can start swimming laps in the swim spa again. Anyway, to slow down, You remove barriers. You have time to assess priorities. You have time to test your assumptions. You have time to develop systems and time to prioritize yourself, time to prioritize your relationships, time to prioritize your finances, all of those things that you find it hard sometimes to do. Why? Why wouldn't you slow down? Because if you don't slow down long enough to do that, are you going to live the life you choose on your terms? Are you going to build the life you choose on your terms? Or are you going to end up stuck back in that cycle of living somebody else's life, having your life lived for you? When you half-ass things, you can half-ass things for a long time, and every time a problem comes up, just fix it and keep going and keep going and keep going and half-ass on your half-ass, right? But eventually things start to crack around the edge, even if it's you, even if it's your mental state, right? Things start to crack. So having really like gone down into the slow down to speed up thing, just like at the range where you got to slow down so you get the form right, so over time you can be more accurate and faster. Some things have changed almost immediately when I made the decision to slow down, and I sort of like had that epiphany before the turn of the new year, so I was already starting to do it. One, from a standpoint of how do I enrich the world around me? How do I do these things better? Almost everything I do has a definition in my mind of it is done when X is like, now it's done. I can check it off the list in my head or on the paper, right? Defining what complete is a moving target for everybody. And you can make something more complete and more complete. You can make something too complete, as a matter of fact. But questioning how I've defined things as complete helps me understand when they're done. Something that would probably enrich my life would be when I type a text message on my phone. It's not complete till I read it through one more time and then I send it, which is not a habit I'm sure I'm ready to take on right now, because the text message changes words and sometimes my thumbs get a little bit off and I like type some BS in there too. So it'll be like weird words, right? But when you define complete as a little bit beyond where you used to define it, then you enrich your life and you set your foundations for more success. Because really what this is about is dealing with the things that are going to come up and bother you later because you didn't do them, or because you didn't do them the way they should be done, or because you didn't set up a system that's apparent to everybody or documented for everybody so other people can keep those things going when you're not there, right? Another observation I had is it's okay to stop midway through something and never go back to it ever again when you realize it is not serving you. That's not giving up. That's making a choice. There's a difference between giving up because it's hard, e.g. my paperwork monster, which just has to be managed, right? And just, this is not serving me. I don't want to put more time into this, and never come back to it. When you do that, though, remember to take out the trash. The third thing I noticed is that communication is actually even more important now when you slow down, especially if you're somebody who goes fast all the time, as you get things dialed in so people understand I'm working to dial this stuff in. It's going to take more time. I actually didn't say it in my Monday mail today, although if you listen to my podcast, you'll know why the Monday mail didn't go out till like 1:45 today. Because your preparations and your refining and your setting up of systems and your removal of barriers and your testing of assumptions and your prioritization refinement is all setting you up for a place of strength to go faster. But if you need to slow down and people are used to you going fast, it doesn't hurt to let them know, hey, this is what's happening. It's funny because in the coffee business, I learned the same thing. It's actually better for me to roast every other day than to roast every day right now at the volume we're at, because about the same amount is taken for the every other day versus one day. And then I am more free to do more things in the coffee business as I refine that process, because I have a more efficient roasting schedule. So sometimes you just need to take that half day, because the other part of slowing down is sometimes you need to slow down to come up with the good ideas, right? Like My idea about the greenhouse being built over my swim spa, which will then take advantage of the fact that there's heat and humidity being emitted by the swim spa, and we could turn it into plants, that I then shared with Tactical, and he was like, oh, we could use the plants to purify the water in the swim spa and it'd be even better. And I was like, and I want to sit there and have my coffee in the morning, you know? So that idea happened because I did this other one type of slowdown. And this type of slowdown can be the hardest one to prioritize when you need to do it the most. Sometimes you need to take a half day or a quarter day to do something completely different. It might be to learn a new AI tool. Like, I have spent so much time learning different AI tools in the last little while because I feel like I don't know how it's happening. I don't know when it's happening, but a lot of what I do can be automated by the AI tools in a way that is still true to my brand and true to what we do here. And that can free me up to focus on this part, which is not something I'm having the AI tool do, which is genuine content from a real person, right? Or to dial in the website, like the NicoleSauce.com/my3things. That page took me, I don't know, 2 hours to make or so by the time I was done, maybe 3, I can't remember. But it sure was a lot easier on the webinar to send people there than to send them all the places, all the resources on that page are, because that page has the My 3 Things episodes. It connects you with the Living Free in Tennessee community. It has the 4-week challenge, and it has a free downloadable My 3 Things workbook that you can download. And it's all in one place, all in one topic. And it just took a little time. Like, I just had to take the half day to do that. Or go for a walk in the woods. Yesterday in the snow, I walked up to the upper ruin with the dogs because I needed to clear my head. And that's when I get the best gronking done. And yesterday, hunting season must have been over because I saw both turkeys and deer in the woods. And I don't usually come across, I come across maybe a squirrel or two, but I don't usually come across anything alive in the woods when I'm out and about, because usually they see me coming first and they're like, we're out of here. Sometimes you just need to take that half day rather than racing forward and building new things and more things on things that are not all the way put together. And other times I am the half-ass master. Like, sometimes you do, just to get through the thing, you need to do that too. And knowing when is what's important, because building the life you choose means you need to choose rather than just let it flow. You need to choose. And choosing one thing can mean walking away from not as good. And don't you want to walk away from not as good? I know I do. Anyway, if you like the show and want to support the work I'm doing here, you can do it in a couple of ways. 1, get your coffee at hollowroast.com. 2, consider becoming a member, where you get at the $50 level 3 membership webinars a year, at the $120 level unlimited webinars. And our next webinar is this Sunday at 3 p.m. with Sean Mills, which is Build Your Solar Blueprint. Find out more about that at livingfreeintennessee.com. With that, guys, go out and make it a great week.